Okay, this is the electrolysis demo. This shows basically how a hydrogen cell works. Inside this apparatus we have a cathode on one side and an anode on another, and then in between we have an electrolyte material. And what this does is when water is introduced and a charge is introduced, in this case from the solar panel, the water separates into hydrogen and oxygen, and the oxygen is pulled into its respective tube and the hydrogen is pulled into its respective tube, and they are held, the gases hydrogen 2 or H2 and oxygen 2 are held inside these little plastic containers, not the whole thing, just the little container that the tube is connected to. And once you're full of hydrogen and oxygen, you can connect this cell to something like a fan that will draw out current, and what happens is the process will essentially happen in reverse. So the hydrogen and the oxygen will be pulled, the gases will be pulled from their containers, brought into here, and they will combine again to form water. So you get water, but in this process an electric current is produced. So in order to do this demo, what you need to do is bear in mind fluid mechanics, basic fluid mechanics. So essentially, if I were to pour this water into this container, this little thing inside would not fill up because there is essentially no way for the air to get inside. So just little things like that do keep in mind when doing this, otherwise you might not get the results that you're expecting. So to do this, first pop off these little caps. You have a red one and a black one, and now air can travel from the environment down the tube into here, into this tube, and into this little container. And what you want to do is you want to pop out these two containers and then pour in some distilled water. Up to about the 0 mark would be fine. It's a moot point. And then carefully, this is hydrogen, and so this side is the hydrogen side, so connect this to here. You just push it down and pop it in. Okay. And do make sure that when you pop it in, that you bend down and look at the miniature plastic container and make sure that you see a water level rise up. You're going to need that. And then do the same with the oxygen. And the water level from the in the little tube goes up. And now put your caps back on so that there's no way for the water to get released. And before you put the hydrogen one on, introduce just a little bit of water into the apparatus. So syringe, fill it up with a little bit of distilled water. You don't need much, maybe 2 milliliters or so. It's just to introduce some liquid into the environment. Just pour that on in. And put your hydrogen cap on. So now the air is trapped, and the only way it can get expelled is through their respective tubes. If you forget this part, the oxygen gas and the hydrogen, the oxygen and the hydrogen gases will be just expelled into the air, and you won't have a storage unit of them. And then connect. Red positive goes to oxygen because positive attracts the negative charged oxygen, and your negative or your ground goes into hydrogen because hydrogen, the element hydrogen is positive, and negative will attract it. And then simply turn on your light, which will represent the sun. So now what's happening is the light is powering up the solar panel, which is producing electric current in here, and it's pulling the hydrogen and oxygen out. And what you'll actually see is nothing happen at first, and then when you turn on the light, some of the excess water that you put into the system will be brought up and into here. And now the oxygen and hydrogen gases are being separated. And because hydrogen has 2 hydrogens per oxygen, essentially you will just see the container fill up completely with hydrogen and half of it will fill up with oxygen. This is fine. And as a general rule of thumb, when the small container, when this container starts bubbling up, that means the hydrogen in there is full. So the process is complete. You won't get any more hydrogen gas out of there. So essentially draining it would be moot. And then you just plug it into your voltmeter to show the students that there is now a charge inside. It's about 1.5 volts. And if you want, you can plug it into the fan. And show that it works. And then when you're done with the demo, just pop out the tubes, take out your cups, and just dump the distilled water back in.